Thank you, Raylan, for that introduction, and welcome everyone to our Dharma Sunday practice, meditation practice, reflection on the Dharma, and um, and community gathering. As all of you make Dharma Sunday what it is too, by your presence. And thank you for coming this morning. So I'd like to start us off with just a bit of connecting to Sangha in our beginning of our practice. We take refuge in Buddha, in Dharma, and in Sangha. And what that means is that we take refuge in guidance, in our field of benefactors, Buddha, awakening and awakened ones. We take refuge in guidance of the Dharma, you could say, in our path. And we can frame that in the widest possible way. Each of us has our own winding spiritual path, all the places we've been and the places we are. And then we take refuge in Sangha, and Sangha means community, and we have community right here. So in the spirit of refuge and Sangha, I invite you to just move to gallery view for just a couple of minutes of connecting, communing. Connecting to the faces here today. And if you're new to NDF, if you're new to our Dharma Sunday, special welcome to you as a newer person. I see many familiar faces and some new faces. And we can come back now to our speaker view if you like, or you can stay with gallery view as you prefer. And I've lit a candle here to kind of set the tone. Part of what I'll be talking about this morning is the practice of coming home, homecoming, and meditation and spiritual practice as a kind of a homecoming. And so one of those homecomings is coming home to our senses. And so I often, at the beginning of my practice, I like to light a candle to awaken the visual sense and this sense of connection to luminosity, to light, to the light within also. And I like to include scent in my practice in the beginning. So if you are at home right now and you have incense or you want to light a candle in the beginning of this practice period that we are here together as a part of, you can certainly stand now and go and do that. I'd like to invite that at the beginning. Burning some sage. And coming home to our sense of smell, our olfactory senses, and making an offering of the smell to our field of support or refuge, what I'm going to call in this morning the field of the ancestral field, the field of our ancestors. Making an offering of the scent to the field of our ancestors as a gesture in the beginning of our practice. We bring them into the room, into our space as a source of wisdom and compassion, support. And making an offering of our voice, we'll chant the refuge prayer together. And if it's new to you, you can feel free just to read it, or if you'd like, you can chant it with us. Sanje chudan sochi chonama Changchu bardu dani chaksu chi daki chen so chi fe so nam chi rola tenche sanje in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until enlightened. By the power of generosity and the other perfections, may we realize Buddhahood. May we awaken for the benefit of all. And we'll bring up, if we can now, the 4 immeasurables. These are prayers for the prayers of, there we go, of love, compassion, equanimity, and joy and equanimity. And we make these prayers for the benefit of all beings. But, all beings are the beings that we're with also. Whoever's in front of us is all beings at any moment. And so we have a field here of Sangha. So we'll say the prayer and then we'll move to gallery view again to do a little practice with this prayer with each other. May all beings possess happiness and the inner causes of happiness. May all beings be free from sorrow and the inner causes of sorrow. May all beings remain undivided from the sacred joy, which is free from sorrow. May all beings come to rest in the great equanimity beyond attachment or aversion to friends, enemies, or strangers. And opening it up to our gallery view, practice this to make it real for ourselves. And just letting your gaze move around the screen. We have such a sweet, intimate group this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. So that's a lovely, very, very easy to take in, and just letting your gaze fall on one of the squares here, just someone here, a moment, be someone you don't know, precious being, and just the first of the four immeasurables is this wish of love. May you, precious one, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May you have happiness and the causes of happiness. And letting our gaze move to another screen, another person's face, maybe someone we do know, maybe someone we have met or seen before, perhaps on Zoom, maybe not in person. May you be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May you be free from suffering and causes of suffering. And letting our eyes, taking a moment, closing the eyes just for a reset. Coming home to ourselves, to our heart, connecting to that source of bodhicitta, loving kindness within. And opening the eyes again, letting our gaze fall on another person in our community this morning, this afternoon. May you experience joy and the causes of joy. May you experience joy and the causes of joy. I take joy in your joy. Another reset, closing our eyes, and one more. Our final of the four immeasurables, four Brahma Viharas, equanimity, taking in the face of someone here. May you experience equanimity, this ability to love widely beyond friend, enemy, and stranger. May you experience equanimity beyond friend, enemy, and stranger. And we can move back to that speaker view if you like, or just resetting, always coming back home to the body mind. And connecting to the sense of an ancestral field that is here also in the room with you. And that ancestral field might be your intimate ones in your life who have cared for you, loved you, and an example of wisdom for you. And that field might include these transcendent beings, these wise ones, Buddha, Tara, your spiritual benefactors, however they may appear for you this morning, this afternoon. Just calling them into the space and asking them to be present while you practice, to offer their benevolent gaze, seeing you just as you are. Loving you just as you are. Having come home to our field of benefactors, our ancestral field, now coming home to this body as grounding, resourcing body. All the way down to where your body connects to its source, the ground, the earth below, to Mother Gaia. Especially letting your attention really dissolve into that grounded feeling at the base of your body. Where you are already anchored, stable, and grounded, coming home to the earth body. Letting attention float up the body, through the hips, into the soft belly, coming home to the breath, this gentle rise of the belly with the in-breath, this gentle fall of the belly with the out-breath. And this quiet resting between the out-breath and the next in-breath. And on your next out breath, letting the attention widen, loosen, relax, to be present to your whole state of being right now in this moment. Including whatever residue you brought with you to the cushion. There's residue of rumination or feeling, emotion, maybe residue of worry, residue of restlessness, residue of indecision, residue of grief, whatever's there, just being very real. This is here, real with yourself. This is me now. Me, but not me. It's here now. It's widening into that place of coming home to this state of being just as you are. Showing up just as you are, not as you want to be or wish you were, but this is you right now, as you are. Welcome. Welcome all feelings. Welcome the stuckness. Welcome the fear. Welcome uncertainty. Just making room for your whole being to be present and breathing some warm, loving space around whatever's there. You are welcome here. Come along and practice with me. Notice how those parts of yourself that you've been resisting, how they relax and take a seat. Now notice what or who is meditating. falling back into that spacious place. Coming home to the truest of the true. The face you had before you were born.
So we'll take a break now for 5 minutes, and I want to encourage you to move and stay in the temple of your body mind. If you can, keep silence in your environment for that 5 minutes to hold the vessel in practice. That would be lovely. So we'll be back together at 10 till.
Welcome back. I like to think back on the time when I first met the Dharma. It's kind of like a measuring stick or a yardstick. It's so interesting in midlife or later in our life to look back and see what we thought then and how we see things now. One of the dimensions of the Dharma that really captured my imagination when I was young was this notion of a path. And I remember first starting primarily with reading in my teenage years, reading books um, like uh, Robert Aitken's books on Zen, or there was a book out there called How to Meditate, written by a Tibetan Buddhist nun whose name I'm forgetting at the moment. Um, there were these books out there that I was reading in my teenage years, and what really captured my imagination in all of those books was this notion that there was this path. There was this thing called a marga. Marga is the Sanskrit for path. There was this thing called a lam, Tibetan for path. Lam means road or path, and that the Dharma is set up as a lam rim. Lam rim means stages along a path. And this notion that there was a path and that there were stages along the path that were measurable, that we could reach. It's possible through practicing to reach these levels. Bhumi, I'll say it in the Sanskrit since we're in this. Thank you, Raylan. Bhumi means a level. So there were these bhumis, like the 10 bodhisattva bhumis, 10 levels of a bodhisattva, that there was this notion of almost like a ladder that we could climb to awakening, to evolving, to emerging from this cocoon of the self into the butterfly of the bodhisattva, the cocoon of the small self into the butterfly of the big self. It was possible to evolve into the butterfly. And that notion of Lam, path, Marga, path, and measurable stages was very compelling to my young mind and is compelling to us, I think, all the way along. This notion that there are, uh, there is a way, there's a way to do this. There's a way to awaken. It's not just a mystery, that there is a way. Um, Still compelling. And and yet, as you start to walk that path, that lam, that marga, that that movement towards evolution, towards the awakening of our more evolved consciousness, what we're actually doing, it turns out, is is coming home, is coming home. That the path that we seem to be following actually is a circle, and it brings us all the way back here. Seems to be we have to do this and that and the other, but actually what we're really doing is coming right back here. And that's what I want to just explore in the short Dharma talk that I'm offering you this morning, this afternoon, depending on your time zone, is um, that reminder of the practice path, the context as a process of homecoming, as a process of homecoming, and also as a practice of homecoming, that we are engaged in a practice of homecoming in the Dharma. And I want to say that for these times, also, these times when we are facing some of the most challenging, maybe challenging times that our species has ever encountered, perhaps. Times of dissolution of the structures that we have relied on to hold us up culturally, politically, personally. Um, this time when those things feel very shaky and uncertain, and times when the environment, our natural world, is struggling to maintain its equanimity, times when Mother Nature's fierce compassion can be felt as these windstorms and literal dissolutions of our literal homes at times, um, really coming, really happening, really happening. So these are challenging times, and challenging times we need a place to come home to. So as I may have mentioned in a previous teaching, right now I'm in Hawaii. I'm in my winter home here, and my dear friends came here this winter because my dear friend Eden Tull, who some of you know came to Wonderwell, she's a Zen teacher. She came here with her husband because her house collapsed on top of her during Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. She was in the heart of that storm and lost everything. She lost her home. And she came here, and now she's here. She's been here for a couple of months. And one of the things that really struck me about her is her resilience in the face of this tragedy, and being able to see that her resilience comes from her practice of the Dharma. She's been remarkably resilient. She has bounced back from that trauma. Not that it will ever completely leave her. It's something that happened that will be living in her nervous system and her body, perhaps forever. Even now on the island, there are intense winds because that's what happens. The trade winds come across the Pacific Ocean every once in a while, and there will be days and days and days where it's very windy. And where she's staying in a small cabin, the wind can really be felt in that cabin, and the trees are knocking on the ceiling and on the windows. And she says her nervous system gets like shaky because of her memory of the hurricane and the house falling. So living in her nervous system still, that memory. But her spirit's so resilient because she knew that her home is really here. Her home is in the body mind. And she was able to come home after losing her home, able to come home because that is what her practice has been for her whole life, is this deep um, homecoming. Um, and how is practice a homecoming? So how is practice a homecoming? In our practice of meditation, we start really by creating this holding environment of safety, home. And we do that initially um, by inviting a relationship to an ancestral field. That is a field of beings, of actual beings, beings who live in our memory and live in, sometimes are alive in real life, but live in our memory, live in our imagination as our connection to our roots. And those roots might be family roots, they might be friendship roots, they might be roots, spiritual roots. But we start our practice by remembering that we are receiving a stream of love and wisdom, that we're not just alone, this isolated meditator. Maybe we are literally alone in a room or alone in a house, but we're not alone. Even if we're alone in the room, alone in the house, alone in the cave, we are actually primordially connected to others. And we begin the practice by remembering that, remembering our field of spiritual ancestors. And sometimes that includes our physical ancestors. It includes our friends, those in whose presence we have felt safe and loved. And we invite them into the field, into the room with us to practice. We're so lucky when we practice online because we have that field is already literally there. We can feel our connection to each other because we're really here together. We're here together across space. We're really transcending space in this field, and we're being recognizing our primordial connectedness. So homecoming to the ancestral field is the first homecoming. And I'm going to be unfolding here 5 homecomings that I use to help frame my practice lately. It helps me understand practice as this profound return home, not a going away, not a moving forward on path, but this coming home to, to who we truly are. So the first of those is the homecoming to the ancestral field, remembering our ancestors and coming home to our ancestors. The second homecoming is this coming home to ground, coming home to earth. And that homecoming to earth is something that our body is doing 24/7. Our body is always coming home to earth. We can feel it at the base of our body. Gravity is the force that's holding our body to the earth. Our body wants to be at home here. And it's telling us that without words by being close, close, close to the ground. And even if we do fly, if we fly away in an airplane, or we jump or if we take a moment, we jump off of the earth, we come right down again. Our body remembers, I belong here with Gaia. I belong here on this earth. I was born here. I will live here, and I will dissolve into this earth one day. The body knows that. So coming home to Gaia, coming home to ground, and we can extend that to an understanding of coming home to the natural world, coming home to the wild, coming home to source, source of our body, source of our material body, source of our energy, source of our food, right? Coming home to Gaia. And the third is an extension of that, coming home to our body, coming home to the body as an earth body. And in meditation, we do that by coming down from our thinking mind and beginning to really connect to the feeling body. And there are so many ways, skillful ways we can do that as part of our spiritual practice or meditation session, including coming home to the senses and then awakening the senses like we did this morning with the candle flame. The candle flame with the smell of the smudge or the incense, awakening the senses in the beginning of our practice to come home to the body's whole collective body and senses. So that's the third homecoming. And the fourth homecoming is coming home to your state of being. And coming home to your state in the context of our practice or meditation means getting real with what's here now. And often when we sit to practice, I think we kind of already come with the expectation that what is here now needs to be fixed. And that's why I'm sitting to practice. What is here now is full of anxiety and needs to be fixed. So I'm coming here to practice. What's here now is depressed. And because I'm depressed, I need to practice meditation, get free from my depression, and then all will be well. Or I'm coming here to meditate in order to fix my agitation because I'm so unsteady and unstable. I need my practice to make me less agitated. Okay, so in one way, yes, right? Our suffering and our kleshas and the gnarly parts of the self can be a motivator for us to move towards a meditation practice, to find a path, to practice the Dharma. It can be a motivating force. But ultimately, ironically, the only way is through. The only way out is through, which means that when we sit to practice, the first thing we do is notice this is my state. My state is agitated, or my state. I mean, you might do this check in even after we've settled, like we did this morning. We grounded first in the body. We did the ancestral field. We grounded in the body, came home to the body. We came home to earth, came home to body, came home to breath, came home to breath. And then we noticed our state, right? But somewhere in that practice of meditation, we need to notice this is how I'm actually feeling. I'm feeling tired this morning, or I'm carrying the residue of anxiety from the news that I read in the last few days, or I'm carrying anticipation of and worry about something that's happening next week, or I'm carrying. So when we sit, showing up just as you are and breathing space around those parts of our state and noticing the state breathing space and light and love around our state, just as we are. And so that's an important part of the homecoming too, is coming home to being with coming home to ourselves, just as we are, the relative self, just as the relative self is showing up right now. And learning that it's perfectly okay that we are showing up just as we are. In fact, it's even better than showing up not okay with what's here and not okay with who we are. That not okayness is going to be following us like a shadow until we get into a practice of acceptance with what's here. We are going to be struggling with what we don't like about the relative self until we learn how to make room for that. And as we make room for it, we're also making room for a profound practice of transformation and alchemy with those parts. Not a practice of abandonment or banishing those parts, but a practice of welcoming them into the field as your allies. All these gnarly parts of the self as your allies, as your protectors, as your inner expressions of the wakeful faculty of this enlightened part of yourself, that these are part of the shining of that part, the shining of your true self. So that's a whole, whole dimension of practice, but we can model it every time we sit. Every time we sit, making room for the state that we're in, just as we are. So coming home to your state is the fourth homecoming. And the fifth homecoming is the deepest of the homecomings. So our fifth homecoming has to do with the bigger picture of what practice's potential really is. The highest potential of our practice is this homecoming to the true nature, this homecoming to our truest of the true in this constellation of incarnation, the truest of the true. And when I say the truest of the true, I'm using that to just invoke in you right now that sense of connection to our deepest authenticity. And if you're here right now, you probably already know exactly what I'm talking about, what that means for you, because that drew you here. It's that truest of the true, seeking its own recognition, that draws us into a path of practice, one that is looking to see beyond the small self, is looking to see who is really in here. And in our life, we have a taste of that larger, more expansive who. And sometimes we stumble accidentally onto the larger who, and that sets us off on the spiritual path. Or maybe we read something, or we see something, or we hear something that stimulates in us a relationship to a deeper layer of our being. That deeper layer is our most reliable home of all the homes that we could possibly take refuge in. It's the one home that is not going to fall and on top of us in the hurricane, because it will be there when the hurricane is over. And it will be there throughout the hurricane. That truest of the true is where we take refuge in our practice. And that's where we are coming home to, in the biggest sense of practice as a homecoming. That's where the circle ends. And in a way, we keep doing that again and again. We keep journeying. Every meditation session is a journey. We're journeying out and noticing, oh, yeah, it's drawing me back here. And we're journeying out, I would say, out into the world of appearances, into the world of our thoughts, into the world of our emotions, into the world of our mind space and heart space. We're journeying out into the literal world when we're in our life, but that path keeps circling us back and we come back home. And so that is our practice, that kind of journeying, and homecoming, journeying and homecoming. It's the pilgrimage of our life. So I wanted to share those homecomings with you, because it's something just I've been practicing with lately, and I found it a useful way and a powerful way to frame my practice. So in part, during my time here in Hawaii, I've been exploring the ancestral homecoming of being in a new place. And I want to mention that too as a powerful path for you as practitioners to consider wherever you're living, starting to ask, what were the indigenous wisdoms in this place? What were the indigenous wisdoms in this place? What were the sacred places for the indigenous people who were here on this land before me? And as we start to ask those questions, it can take us into a deeper sense of some of the homecomings, like the homecoming of ground, that the ground that I walk on here in Hawaii was walked on by previous wise ones who were indigenous to this island of Hawaii. And I've been starting to learn about their culture and their religion and their spirituality and their sacred places. And in that process, one of the pilgrimages I took recently was to the caldera of Kilauea. Kilauea is the erupting volcano here on the island of Hawaii that you maybe have noticed was in the news lately. It erupted. It actually had 11 eruptions since December. It's been erupting, and there's been an ongoing display of lava and fountains and rivers of lava in the caldera. Caldera means the fire pit at the summit of this volcano, Kilauea. So I recently took a pilgrimage there, did pilgrimage there to the caldera um, between the 10th and the 11th eruption. And I wanted to share with you a little bit about what was powerful for me about um, that pilgrimage. I was doing a pilgrimage there as a kind of a coming home to Gaia for myself, a coming home to Gaia. What you see when you see a volcano erupting is you see the birth of the earth. That's what's happening in an eruption, is the land is being born. It spills out as these rivers of lava, and that hardens, that becomes the ground. In one of the more recent eruptions here, 800 acres of land was created by the eruption. The lava flowed down into the sea and created 800 acres of lava field there now. So that's literally happening. That birth is happening here. And I wanted to go to the birthplace of, so I did. And one of the things that I learned there that really was a profound wisdom for me, I learned this from the park ranger, this great guy that gave us a tour of the caldera during the day, although the time that you really go is at night, because at night you can see that birthing process because the lava glows and you can see it so much more clearly than you do during the day. Anyway, this ranger um, told me that when people first came to Hawaii in those colonial days, when the white people were first coming to Hawaii and first encountering Hawaiian culture, one of the things that surprised them the most is that the Hawaiian people, the indigenous Hawaiians, when there was an eruption, right, you would expect people would be running from the volcano and going down as far away as possible on the island from the volcano. You would expect that, right? Because it's a powerful and somewhat dangerous um, event when an eruption occurs. There's sometimes lava fountaining into the air, which can kill a person instantly, right? If you are hit by lava, that's the end pretty much for you. And then or spewing rocks, right? It can be edgy, dangerous, right? So, but instead, what they found was that the Hawaiians don't run from the volcano during an eruption. The Hawaiians run towards the volcano during an eruption. They get as close as they can to the volcano during an eruption, close as they can safely. And why? Because they're there to pay homage to the goddess Pele. Pele is the goddess of volcanoes. The Pele is the goddess of destruction and of creation in the Hawaiian Islands. So it is a sacred event when she wakes up. She's manifesting this indescribable power of creating the earth while she's destroying at the same time, right? Because that lava destroys everything in its path, and it also is the bedrock for the all future life in the island. It's all future life is being born right there. So it's a powerful event for them symbolically, and they move towards it. And for myself, I thought about the analogy in our own practice of leaning in to what's challenging, leaning into what's difficult, because that is where the alchemy happens. It's with the difficult that our old patterns are destroyed, that power of destruction, and with the difficult, our new patterns and new ways of being, our resilient self is born. So this in that same way, that analogy, I really came home from that eruption with that analogy, and it's helped me meet the truths of this moment with a greater sense of willingness and curiosity, remembering that template. Hawaiians run towards the volcano. So what does it mean to move towards what's difficult? Remembering that process of destruction is also a creation. So I wanted to share some pictures from that with you, just as a parting gift of our Dharma Sunday here. And that's the caldera. Oh, that's the caldera. And that is not a picture that I took. That's a picture I got from the
Willa,
internet.
I
Oh,
don't think we can see your
oh, you don't
screen.
see it. Oh, we're not
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm new to sharing a little bit. Thank you. Okay, here we go. So that is the caldera of Kilauea, the summit. Give you a sense of what it looks like when it's erupting. This I did not take, this picture, but this picture I did take. So I went at night to the caldera, and um, they don't let you get too close because you never know what's going to happen when there's an eruption. Anything could happen. So they keep you fairly far from the eruption. And this was taken with my iPhone and using the, getting as close, getting close up with you. So, and I love this one because it's the every photo I took was totally different. It's like there's a specter, almost like Pele, the goddess, is dancing in the fire. Everyone was different. And this is, see, even this one, you can see the halo is different above the caldera for this picture, and that's the full moon. It was a full moon right above the caldera. And that's Pele. This is the most famous portrait of Pele in the Hawaiian Islands. It was painted by Akumu, as a medicine person, Hawaiian indigenous medicine man of Pele. And all the lava is her hair. You can see the lava, the dried lava there. It's her hair. Okay, so those are just some slides, kind of give you a taste of some of my pilgrimaging and my experience of homecoming to ground, and how that can be homecoming to earth, can also be a process of learning. And you could do that in your area as well, just starting to come home to what does it mean to be on this land right here? Who was here? Who stood here before me? Who walked here before me? And what can I learn from that culture? So good to see you. And I've used up most of my time here. So I do an hour and a half on the Dharma Sundays. I do want to end by just a bow to all of you, and thanks for coming, and a dedication prayer, the paying forward of our practice, the wish to come home for the benefit of all beings. May we all come home to our true natures in this lifetime. Thank you. Marilyn, if you could bring up our dedication. Changchu Sancho Rinpoche Mache Panan Che Georgi Che Pa Nyam Pa Me Pa Yang Gong Ne Gong Du Pao. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably until all are fully illumined and awakened. Thank you.